SEC Conference. We're going to build the best football program in the SEC Conference.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
The kick, it's been blocked again! How about it? It's been blocked again! It's going to heat one deep down the field. It's going to be to the goal line. It's going to be gone! It's a touchdown! And the Gators have won the game! Tyreek Cleveland! How about it? I can't believe what I just saw! Dropping back to throw. Pops and fires the ball over the middle. It's Story! It's Story! Got a touchdown! Story got a touchdown! Oh, man! Story's got a touchdown! Ahmad Black, in his final game as a Gator, takes it all the way home and sends Urban out the winner.
You have now arrived at Stadium in Gale.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Stadium Miguel. It's your favorite Uncle Silk.
It's Dan.
And Delatorre.
Same corner, same time. How y'all guys feeling, man?
You sound like you've got fresh mountain air in those lungs.
Yeah, no Bender vibes.
Nope.
No Bender vibes. Wouldn't mind getting into some Bender stuff, but a lot of relaxation. Went to Colorado, Denver this past weekend, swung through Boulder. Checked out that spring game from the parking lot, then go inside the stadium. But had a good time out there in Denver, man.
But snowed?
Yeah, we got some unexpected snow. I didn't even pack for snow, man. It was like my boy that lives out there, shout out to my man Stacks. He was telling me that it was gonna be 70 degrees, man. Yeah, bring your hoochie daddy shorts. It's gonna be nice out here. So we had to do some shopping when we got out there as well because it was frigid out of nowhere.
You know that
Yeah, so-
that would feel we're in tax season. That would feel like a write-off, business expense.
Right?
Business expense. And it comes from South Florida, where there's a very different type of snow often in the air. It goes to Denver. Not with him. No accusations over here. It goes to Denver.
You're right.
Looked like a great trip. I'll be out there in a week and a half, a little bit more than a week and a half. I'll be out in Denver twice in May, so looking forward to that. But looked like a great trip.
Yeah, I had a good time, man. Didn't get into any skiing or snow or anything like that, but got into some 420 activities. Met up with former tight end, Tennessee Titans tight end, and Texas Longhorn tight end, Bull Scaife. He had quite a week of events, so went to a lot of his events, checked out his business, shot some content with him, made a connection with Lindell White. We're supposed to do a one-on-one interview soon, too. That should be pretty dope. Yeah, fight on, man. Talk with them guys a little bit about that Texas and USC Rose Bowl national championship game.
Oh, yeah.
It was very nostalgic and very dope, man. But I had a good time. Enjoy Colorado. It's beautiful out there, man.
It is.
Very beautiful.
Yeah. Denver is awesome. Nick, how was your weekend?
Good. Got a rare Sunday off. Got to hang out with the fiance with a Thursday, Friday, Saturday baseball kick. It's just that time of the season, man. My weekends are baseball.
Love it. Not much going on here. We sponsor a guy on the Corn Ferry Tour, so they had an event. So I was down at that golf tournament on Thursday and Friday. Missed the cut by one stroke. So that was an unfortunate series of events, but great time down there with him. Saturday we had a little pool party yesterday. Just kind of hung in. It was a nice, relaxing weekend. Got a lot of stuff in the upcoming weekend. What?
A relaxing pool party, Dan?
A relaxing pool party. Yeah, just a little birthday party. Just so 8-10 people that were there. Just drank by the pool a little bit. We had plans to maybe go on after, and then I think the sun hit a little bit differently, and just decided to stay in. So I was in Friday night, I was in Saturday night, and in Sunday night. You guys will be very happy and impressed. But I will say it's not just because of being an old man. Some of my investments are down in the dumps.
It's a little load management, Nick. That's all that is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's load management or if it's just the stress of watching his stock portfolio just dip.
As a shareholder, we're getting some unfortunate news in my investment in LifeWallet. The NASDAQ has given them notice of starting the process to delist. So as a shareholder, those are things that you don't want to hear or see. We have put LifeWallet on Life Alert. So we are as shareholders, I've been able to talk to a few other shareholders. We are very concerned about the leadership and the focus of our CEO. So we will be watching closely. But if you start to see me look a little beat up, road hard, and put
Worse
off
for
wet,
wear.
it's probably because of my investment, sizable investment as a shareholder.
Seems fine. If it's sizable, it's financially irresponsible.
Well, sizable means different things to different
Sure.
people. So
It's all
Small
relative.
size, big
yeah,
size.
and I would
Oh,
appreciate
relative.
if you guys just respected my privacy the same way that I
The
do for
pocket
you guys.
watching that Corey is doing right now.
Yeah,
And is a
he's
sizable
closet
shareholder in Life Wallet.
I'm trying to
closet Miami fan over here as a pocket watcher.
Trying to help him get the GoFundMe together if it's detrimental to his retirement or something. Nick.
Yeah,
Listen, Dan's not retiring anytime soon.
And we are probably minutes delayed now because of my investment and what's happened from retiring earlier than I wanted to.
Minutes
Let's get on with the show. As always, we do want to shout out our main sponsor of this show, Alan Horn with State Farm Insurance, located there in beautiful South Georgia, but he can cover you in Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, or Alabama. Give him a call, 706-692-2888 or AlanHornInsurance.com. Any type of insurance that you might need, from auto, home, renters, life, business insurance, or I might need to reach out to him, retirement planning. Give Alan Horn a call, 706-692-2888. Gentlemen, a lot of news in the Gator world. Biggest news probably happened just a couple of days ago, and that's the transfer announcement that he will be entering the portal of wide receiver Xavier Henderson, one of the Gators' probably likely starting wide receivers from this year. What do you guys take of that news that came out on Saturday afternoon?
Separated from UF better than he separated from some receivers in the 3 years that he was here. No hard feelings, I don't think, from either way. He's your leading receiver outside Ricky Pearsall, your most experienced receiver coming back. It's not a great thing for UF to not have Xavier Henderson back in the fold, but I don't think it's detrimental to the offense.
Yeah, I said it last show. The receivers, regardless of how it started, I thought the veteran guys were just going to be ahead because they're acclimated to the college game and they know the playbook. So I expected those guys to be ahead in spring, get more reps. But watching the spring game, watching these guys play over the last couple of years, they can't separate and they're not that explosive. So I've been saying the last few shows that we don't have to rely on young wide receivers, to be able to separate. They're explosive. Andy Jean, Aiden Mazzell, seeing him draw a couple pass interference because he was just blown by guys in the spring game was extra encouraging. It's not a great thing that he's leaving, but I definitely understand it. Do I think he's going to lose some reps probably in his last year before he gets this NFL audition? I think so. I said that last show. I think all the older guys, I wouldn't be surprised if another veteran wide receiver hit the portal. So that's just my overall take. I think we need to bring in a veteran wide receiver back into the fold in the portal as well. So an exit, we just need to find somebody to replace him. But he's definitely replaceable. Big Henderson, that whole family, I'm a fan of that family. It's probably best for both parties to, amicable separation.
Yeah, ends his career at UF with seasons of 148 yards, 277 yards, and 410 yards. Last season, 38 receptions, 410, 2 touchdowns, including a long of 78. Had a big game against Georgia statistically, including that 178-yard pass, goes for 5 catches for 110 yards. But I would say over 3 years, a relatively unremarkable career. Certainly has leadership, has speed, struggled a little bit, I would think, on punt return. But overall, a loss for the Gators, especially from an experience perspective. But I don't know if I saw him being a huge yard getter this year, just based on what we've seen before and what I would imagine Florida's offense will look like.
I mean, who is going to be a huge yard getter in this offense. I think if we're at an early over under for passing yards per game, I said it at like 220, and I might take the under. Probably taking the under.
Not great.
No.
So where does that put Florida? I mean, obviously you have, the young guys. You add in Caleb Douglas in there. What do you think Florida looks like on the wide receiver starting 3 side of things besides Ricky Pearsall?
Yeah, I think Ricky Pearsall. Listen, can you move him outside a little bit? I don't think that's where he's best. But if you're trying to get the best guys on the field, if Trey Wilson comes in and is that dude and can start, let's say by week 3 inside, maybe you can move Ricky outside or have them both on the field at some times. That's some yards after catch. I think you can put it on the field. Caleb Douglas, Khalil Jackson, Andy Jean. Like, it's just, they're okay. Yeah,
I mean, not an inspiring group of leaders right now. Certainly, you have you have a lot of promise, right? A lot of people that have skill, a lot of people that we're excited about, a lot of people we've talked about on this podcast very glowingly. But certainly, I think the biggest issue that we're seeing right now is Florida doesn't have that experience, and they're going to rely on a quarterback that's definitely not as athletic as Anthony Richardson, but rely on a quarterback that can hopefully get you some decent production. And right now it just doesn't seem like a lot of the odds are stacked in favor of the Florida's offense outside of the running backs being super serviceable this year.
I mean, you're going to have to working on some best available at positions of need for Gators Online this week. And I'll be hitting offensive line as well. I think you're going to have to get another guy on the offensive line. If Florida, I think I had Florida at 82 scholarships, 83 scholarships. So they're down to 79, 80, 78 range. I mean, you have someone like Adam Mahalek, who was on scholarship, added the scholarship for the spring. Does he stay on scholarship? So there's ways that they'll play around with that. But I think you're going to need to add an offensive lineman. Just watching how guys went down with injuries this year, it's going to be crucial to add guys that can play, either start or play in a pinch as depth pieces. So I think Florida's going to have to add, and the transfer portal it's not quite a buffet on either the offensive or defensive line. And then you look at guys in the SEC can't transfer within the conference because they won't be eligible to play because of an SEC rule this late in the cycle. So if anyone pops up from, an Alabama or an Ole Miss right now, I know Silk's on quarterback watch, on quarterback scouting duty. Like Jackson Dart would not be able to play for Florida at quarterback in 2024, or 2023. So you kind of are what you are unless we get some more names pop up. But I think Florida's going to be a team that predominantly runs the ball. You're going to have to throw the ball enough to keep teams honest, but you're going to need some backups. Like, what does Cam Waits come back from at 6'8", 350 pounds? What's the timetable and what's it look like to come back from an Achilles injury? What's Micah Mazuka look like after shoulder surgery? The injury that he had will affect everything you do when you're pushing, which is everything you're doing on the offensive line. So even when these guys come back, how healthy are they? What version of themselves are they? So to me, I have a lot of concerns about Florida's offensive line because it's going to have to be a team that runs the football. It has to run the football to win football games.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to make some upgrades. On offense, we definitely need, I'm going to say upgrades. We definitely need depth because of injury possibilities. We are already struggling with some injuries in the trenches. But losing Xavier Henderson, I mean, we lose maybe a couple terrible jet sweep calls a game, I think, and a guy that shouldn't have been on punt return duty, to be real with you. So it was like some bad fits. I don't know what he brought to the table that we're going to be missing that somebody else couldn't bring. He wasn't taking the lid off, wasn't causing defenses to stress at night about absolutely anything, in my opinion. So we'll see. I don't think that's a terrible exit, and we could possibly upgrade. We'll see what the skill position upgrades look like this offseason in the portal. But right now, I'm not it didn't move me, man. I was already calling from a wide receiver youth movement. I've seen enough from these older guys. I'm not gonna keep beating that same dead horse, man. So was surprised.
Yeah.
Was shocked that because I know he's a guy that loves Gainesville, loves University of Florida, has been a good teammate, good player, and a model citizen, model student around campus. So was shocked, but I get it.
Yeah. Tough loss for the locker room, probably more than anything, but certainly we wish him the best of luck and where he goes next. Nick, do you have any pontifications on where you think he might be headed or still?
I think he could go home.
Miami.
Ew. I like that for Miami.
That's rude.
No, I do. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Louisville may be an option as well. I don't know what their wide receiver room look like, but I know he has relationships there. Yeah, he has a relationship out there. Yeah.
We'll certainly be on the lookout for him. The other big
There were a couple of wide receivers, real quick. There were a couple of wide receivers from Colorado. One is Montana Lamonius Craig, A+ name.
Keen Peele-Smith.
A+ name. He had 3 catches for like $159 in the spring game. He hit the portal. I think the other one's name is like Elijah.
While you look that up, Nick, you've just said that the Florida Gators are probably going to average 225 yards or less on throwing the ball. Why would a wide receiver like that want to come to Florida?
Couldn't tell you, Dan, but didn't know why a running back would want to come and in my mind at the time, sit behind Montrell and Trevor Etienne. So you get Cam Carroll to come, and he looked great in the spring.
Yeah. I guess you never know. I don't see that happening based on some of the things that I read about him, that this has been a bit of a work in progress, and used the spring game with Deion's help to kind of show out to increase his opportunity. I don't know if I see him coming to Florida. I do worry about Florida's ability to attract. Graham Mertz is, in my opinion, a serviceable quarterback. I'm maybe a little higher on him than Nick is, but you look at what Florida's offense will likely be this year, and I just don't know, unless you're a multi-year guy, if there's a huge opportunity for you to come to Florida and be a super impactful wide receiver to help your draft stock. I don't see that offense here.
I didn't see it in Miami, but apparently we have a receiver going down there. It's weird with recruiting in the transfer portal. I think opportunity and just snaps is a thing. Big stage, platform to be able to perform in the SEC. All of that's an opportunity. It's going to be hard for any Porter guys to go find a successful quarterback to go play for. Most of those programs are loaded with receivers. They have their guys, especially as far as starters. So there may be, just because of opportunity-wise, I think we'll be able to get a guy just from an opportunity standpoint, in my opinion, because if you're looking for 1 year to play ball, it's not going to absolutely be with a contender with a great quarterback. You may just need a platform like Cam Carroll, the running back. He could have played a lot of different programs and probably got more snaps, but he's going to be playing on a big stage in the SEC, and that could do a lot for your career as far as like getting drafted. Yeah.
It was Chase Sowell, the other name you were thinking of, Nick, wide receiver in Colorado. Yeah. I don't see an Elijah on the roster, but Chase Sowell, which seems like the exact opposite name of Elijah. Has also entered the portal. I think that you're going to start to see a lot more over the next 48 hours of big names. And we'll talk about the transfer portal a little bit more. I know Florida's gone after a few other folks, but the Gators did have another name that was, I don't know if is as surprising, but definitely a loss for the Gators as well. Antoine Powell-Ryland, who was the outside linebacker, edge, buck, whatever, has announced that he too will enter the transfer portal this season. And there's some rumors about that are unsubstantiated at the time. But your thoughts on Antoine Powell-Ryland entering the transfer portal, boys?
Go ahead.
It's a depth loss. Princely moving over there is going to start. I think Justice Boone and Princely kind of can be swing pieces, playing defensive end, and Jack playing the edge. I still think you need another edge player, and I think you needed one in the portal before Antoine Powell-Ryland Jr., the 7th of his name, House of Dragons left. So I think I don't think it's a huge loss for Florida. He played well when he took over for Brenton Cox, but I think he'll probably look in a guy who might transfer down a little bit and get more playing time.
I think that he's a fine player. I think that he might have had even a bigger impact on the defense than Xavier Henderson was offensively, at least statistically. I was a little bit higher on Powell Ryland than maybe some others. But I also know that there should be some excitement about Kelby Collins and a few of the other folks that are at that position being able to make an impact as well this year. I don't think that he was going to start, but losing depth pieces is unfortunate, right? I know it's part of the business and everything else. But to me, that's kind of what separates, your good to great teams is not just the talent, but it's the depth right behind that. And I don't know if Florida will be able to upgrade over Powell Ryland. I think maybe they'll be able to find a body to fit into that spot, but it's I guess part of the game of football.
Yeah, that's going to be a battle for all coaches going forward, keeping quality depth because the transfer portal allows you to be able to be a little bit flexible. If you're not playing, you see you're getting passed up in the spring to kind of hit that portal. So it's hard to sell kids on being patient, and that's going to be another thing to monitor just with new college football, the way it's all set up. You got to continue to not just recruit college ranks, and you got to recruit your roster as well while kids are going through, position battles. But we got depth at the position. There's an opportunity to add somebody to that room. But yeah, I didn't want to see him go. To me, like Dan said, I think this is more detrimental than the Xavier Henderson. But we can definitely afford to lose somebody at that spot. But you just need quality depth in the trenches in the SEC, man, just because of attrition and everything else, man. Keeping fresh bodies and injuries always happen. So didn't want to see him leave. And yeah, I was out there, man, in Denver, and I just started getting texts about just weird rumors. I don't know what's going on, but I was enjoying my vibe, so I didn't really entertain it or text you guys about it. But there were a lot of rumors about this transfer.
Yeah, we those seemingly are unsubstantiated right now, but
Princely Umanilin said, "What fight? Nobody got any fights, man. Like it's all made up." That's what he said. I don't know. I'm not on the team. Just read a tweet as I was vibing this week.
Let's get a quick shout out to our friends over at the Gatorverse. Go visit gatorverse.io for a really cool way to help a number of athletes at the University of Florida, including gymnastics and basketball. So go check them out, gatorverse.io. Bless you, Nick. We will be doing a NIL event with them this off season. So again, go visit gatorverse.io and help our student athletes as well. Nick, I know over the course of the last few days, there's been some new updates out there regarding the transfer portal and a couple of guys that Florida is looking at. Do you have some of those names for the listeners here?
Yeah, pull them up. Yeah, fill some air while I pull these up.
Yeah. No, we'll fill some air here. Obviously, we do expect that the Florida Gators will likely have a number of other transfers into the transfer portal over the next couple of days. I believe the next 48 hours should be a big entering time. I think all of the spring games are now done. I think a lot of your post game and post practice interviews are wrapping up or are already wrapped up by now. So certainly going to see some additional names entering the portal here pretty soon. I don't know of the quality. I don't know how many are going to be guys that Florida looks at right now, but Florida certainly does have a few folks on staff that are monitoring that transfer portal, hopefully very often right now.
There was
go ahead. So
there's something I read somewhere or heard somewhere, Billy or somebody from the staff mentioning that there's a certain date that they were waiting on for, because you could go too early. You don't know who's actually entering the portal until they're there, right? So you can actually move too early and miss on a prospect that you wanted later. You just didn't know was going to enter the portal. So there's a certain deadline that they're waiting for guys to enter before they get aggressive. I don't know when the portal closes exactly, but
30th, 6
30th.
days.
Yeah, so they need it closes for us entering it, but it don't close as far as teams being able to acquire. Correct.
Right. So you have to enter the portal by April 30th. Now you can have graduate transfers, guys, with I think Florida's finals week is next week, so that'll obviously be after the portal closes. But if you graduate, you can transfer as a graduate transfer. So even as the portal closes for, let's say, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, anyone who hasn't graduated, you might have guys who graduate and can still transfer after that. Really the only one that we're reporting right now that Florida has plans to bring on campus is San Diego State offensive lineman Joshua Simmons. Started all 13 games last year out there, and was a 4-star recruit in the 2021 class. I think he's the number 47 interior offensive lineman on our On3 transfer portal rankings. Would be a depth piece for Florida, which as I spent a bunch of times talking already about, would be important for the Gators offensive line. I don't know. So like Florida is intent on not tampering, or at least saying they're not tampering silk. But to me, if you're not at least looking at, if you're not at least talking about internally who are guys that could help us if they potentially hit the portal, and already doing your review. Like if you're waiting to start your film review until a tweet gets sent, hey, I'm in the portal. By the time you talk to a kid, he's going to know where he's going. So like there has to be some sort of system of scouting, scouting and doing your due diligence on guys, even if they don't end up going into the portal. Like you can't afford to start your process once a guy sends a tweet and officially enters the portal.
Yeah, and we obviously don't know a ton about what Florida's process is right now. We know that Florida has historically very much been rule followers, and that's been a multi-decade process now to try to avoid getting in any sort of trouble. But Nick, I think that you're right. These things happen quickly. You see a lot of guys that will enter the transfer portal and a day or two later announce where they're going or already have visits set up and everything else. So
we definitely tampered with Cam Jackson and a few other players, allegedly.
Purportedly. Jeez Louise.
Reportedly.
Florida would never.
Florida would never.
It got dropped. The news got dropped by a certain reporter a little earlier than it went public. So
that's true. Florida, he was not even in the portal when the news was
right.
Thanks, Edgar.
Yeah, shout out to the Tamperers.
The San Diego State transfer, Nick, remind me his name again.
His name is Josh Simmons.
Josh Simmons had a good friend in college.
6'6", 305 elbs.
You'll watch his tape. It's fine. Again, depth piece for Florida. Obviously, a decent player in the way that Florida is shaken up on the offensive line right now, or what could be a very run-heavy offense. You're going to expect to see some injuries. Would be nice to have. I don't know if Florida has a huge opportunity to have somebody. You said he's ranked the 47th best transfer.
Interior lineman.
Interior in all of college football, or that are in the transfer portal currently? Because I would like to know options 1 through 46.
That list is guys who have already also picked schools.
That seems like that's an invaluable list then to me. Let's pull that list up here. And if I go into the On3 transfer portal.
Interior offensive line. Here you go, Dan.
Already pulled up.
Oh, you got it.
I sure did. How do I do this by rankings? There we go. Colorado really had a lot of people enter the portal, huh?
Buddy Louis Bags.
Yeah, I was out there, man. I almost entered it.
Listen, man, I have a bunch of friends who live in Denver, and they love it. They grew up in South Florida, living in Denver. Love the vibes out there.
It's a different city. I like to visit. I don't know if I would love to live there. It seems like one of those cities where everybody's not from there. I couldn't get a hold of like the people of Denver inside of Denver. It was like a little different when it pertained to that.
A little bit of a melting pot out there. Yeah, not a lot of people. Denver's really grown over the last, couple decades. A lot of people moved out there. A lot of people during, pre-COVID and post-COVID, I know, went out there to be near the mountains. Denver's definitely a melting pot of a city, but definitely not it's probably somewhat similar to Tampa, right? Not a lot of people are from here that live there. Those that did are definitely outnumbered by those that moved out there. But you saw why people are moving out there. It's a great spot, but no, I would agree with you.
Are you a Tampa for life, Dan?
What?
Are you a Tampa lifer now?
You never know. I don't have plans to leave the Bay Area, but never had plans to move here to begin with. So
if Life Wallet stock bounce back, man, you never know.
If Life Wallet stock bounces up, I might buy Tampa, called Danpa. All right, so
get out of here, bro.
Nick, here's a couple of names that I have for you. Emmanuel Pregnon from Wyoming. He's higher ranked. These are all the people that are higher ranked that are not committed or already enrolled somewhere else.
We only have a certain amount of time.
Troy Everett from Appalachian State. Seems like he could connect to Florida. Vincent Lumia from Duquesne, looking at Bowling Green in Miami, but you guys have him ranked as the 19th best. Interior offensive line. Mississippi State transfer Lucas Taylor is number 31. Let's see. And Colton Deary from Maryland. And then
Lucas Taylor would be ineligible to play next year at Florida.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to the future, Nick. You've already sailed the ship on this season. Zach Zambrino from American Heritage, transferring from Princeton, is looking for a spot. No better place to go than from the Princeton of the North to the Harvard of the South. And then Josh Simmons is right there. So of uncommitted, currently ranked interior offensive lineman, I believe he's 6th best. And so we're going to roll with that. The 6th best transfer interior offensive lineman in the country sounds a lot better than 47th overall. Nick, any other names that Florida has gone after yet? Oh, go ahead.
Josh Simmons, he has 3 years to play?
I believe so. He was
right. 3 years to play. His NIL value is $5,300 from Helix High School in La Mesa, California. Do you know if there's a connection to Florida other than Florida needing somebody at all?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, reading some of the San Diego State message board stuff and Twitter after searching his names. Apparently, he jumped off sides a lot. That was his hang up. But starting that many games as a sophomore at San Diego State is impressive. So we get him for 3 years. So you got to think there's some development that we could do, and he could be productive. He's already starting as a sophomore at San Diego State, struggling with some penalty stuff that hopefully Rob Sell and Stapleton could clear up. We'll see. If we get him. I don't even know if we got him yet. He's visiting, right?
May 5th.
There we go.
In other news, Silk, you have caused a stir amongst the Gator faithful of wanting Malik Murphy. Nick, do you want? Well, not really a stir, but you've brought his name up probably more often than most. So, you guys think that that's a possibility, or
it's just like people run and like I put out Malik Murphy's name. We've talked about Malik Murphy, but then I have to deal with a message board and with Twitter, and people are like angry that Malik Murphy's not already at Florida. It's like, well, he's the backup at Texas. He's fine, seemingly fine being at Texas.
Malik need to read. Malik does need to read the room a little better. So I do get fans saying like, "What? I don't understand how he don't see what's about to happen here."
He's not in the transfer portal,
right?
So he's not available to Florida. And I don't know that he's better than Graham Mertz. Like there's not a lot of tape on him. He could be. He's certainly a very different player than Graham Mertz. He has better
chances for sure.
More mobile. But like he's not a magic pill that's going to win you 9 games next year either. And he's not available.
Yeah, all of that. But from
all of that aside,
yeah, from a skill, from a skill set perspective, I definitely would take Malik over him. He's not in the portal, but there's a lot more upside. We know what we're getting with Graham Mertz. After how many years he played at Wisconsin, we've seen him in the spring game. He's an average guy. We've all called him that, and just seeing the spring game of Malik out at Texas, you see a lot of upside and also defeat. He could be able to move, but the kid hasn't entered the portal. Mm-hmm. I mentioned his name just because of talented backups. Jalen Milroe is another guy. I'm a little concerned about anybody leaving Bama because they were trying to get Tyler Van Dyke this past week, which is frightening. So I don't even know if I want a Bama guy. It ain't tampering. I also think Van Dyke was also trying to get his bag pushed up. I don't know how much Bama really wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
They probably poked the barrel a little bit to see what's up, but I don't see Van Dyke being better than Jalen Milroe or what they got going on out at Bama. But they did concern me that Bama hasn't really, solidified a spot there. But we'll see who enters the portal and then go from there. But I understand why the average fans looking at my man Malik out there in Texas, like, yo, how do you not see the jig? You're not going to start over yours. And when the yours time is up, there's no way you're going to start over Arch Manning.
Yeah, I think the best thing that you could have is maybe an open competition, maybe share the first game or two, but it's going to be very, very hard to surpass the Arch Manning hype, no matter how good or not.
Politics.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into another quick ad read, and then we will get into some line makers out in Vegas. What's up?
I thought you said we're gonna get into some lying.
No. Not yet. As always, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Home Field Apparel. They are about to drop, or they did, that you can pre-order a new bomber jacket that looks incredible. It reminds you of the old starter jackets of yesteryear. Go check out homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code Stadium and Gale to give you 15% off of your order. A little plug here. If you've already used it once, just create a new account, same address, same everything, just create a new email and you can use it again in perpetuity forever. So again, homefieldapparel.com, promo code Stadium and Gale gets you 15% off of your order. About 19 different items, including the Florida Gators script logo for this time of year. And then they will continue to drop new things, but also go check out that new jacket. Again, homefieldapparel.com. Promo code Stadium and Gale. Our friends over at DraftKings are not wearing orange and blue glasses, according to our friend Nick De La Torre. Florida has, I think, 6 or 7 games where lines have been released, and Florida is underdogs in all of them. Starts with Florida at Utah on August 31st. Florida is a 10-point underdog there. Say what?
So let's go through them
one by one. Are you guys taking that bet? Are you guys taking Florida with the points?
First off, we need a Stadium and Gale pop-up. I'll be in town.
Okay.
Salt Lake, Dan, you've probably lived there, been there.
Dan may be in Europe.
I might be in Europe. So
you're not focused in the group chat, Nick. I can tell.
Yeah, no, he's not. So Nick, we got Florida plus 10. You taking the points?
To me, this one's tricky. I don't know what Florida will look like when they travel out there. As much as we made a big deal about the humidity, you're up 4,000 feet sea level. Needs Florida with some of those Bane training masks when fall camp hits to get used to that elevation. What's Cam Rising going to look like? He tore his ACL on January 1st. Is he Cam Rising? Can he play? And if he does play and start, is he Cam Rising? Utah was a much different team in late October, November last year than they were when they came to Gainesville. Talking to some people out west, that's a very Utah thing to not play well in the beginning of a season and finish strong. You like to hear that if you're a Florida fan. I don't know that 10 is a crazy line. You usually give the home team 3 points. So you're saying that's a touchdown game. I like that line. I'd probably lay the points at Utah at this point right now, though.
So continuing the Gators plus 10 versus Utah.
Yeah, I'll take the Gators plus 10. I do want to see what's up with.
Silk's got 5 money lines here. Gators money line 5 times here. Just betting the Gators outright.
I do. I would like to see the health of both teams leading up to this game. Where we're at offensive line wise, where they're at Cam Rising wise. I did see enough from just from a physical standpoint when we faced those guys last year. I thought physically we were better than them, the strength wise. And also, I think Billy outcoached them boys a little bit, just, from a Billy standpoint. I know we had the home field advantage. The lack of them knowing what exactly we were going to do with Anthony Richardson, the offense was brand new. We still have some of that. They don't really know our offensive plays and how we're going to run things. We kind of got Cam Rising in the Utah enough film to know how to approach them with our defense. So, yeah, I would take those points now. But before that game starts, my lives are going to be dependent on how healthy both teams are at that point.
Yeah, no, I think the Florida's probably a little bit more physical of a team. We saw that the last game. I think the Florida's faster. Certainly there's a lot of question marks about Florida as a whole, but I do think that one of the question marks that will hopefully be answered is a better defense. Obviously, I know Florida played Utah pretty well defensively last year, but I do think that Florida is going to be drastically improved on the defensive side of the ball. But the game comes down to Cam Rising, and it comes down to Graham Mertz and the health of this Florida Gators offense and what they're able to do. 10 points, I think, is a lot of points. Utah is a good team. I know that they graduated a number of folks as well, so we'll see what their roster looks like. But I do like Florida plus 10 right now. We move on to the game 17 days from then when Florida and Tennessee go against each other in the Swamp. Florida is also a 10-point favorite, so a neutral field 13-point underdog to Tennessee. But the Gators did lose 38-33 last year. But again, Florida plus 10. Do you like it on September 16th against Tennessee?
I like that one. I think the system, hypo system, is quarterback friendly. I'm just not big on Joe Milton. I'm not a big Joe Milton guy. I watched him in high school. Didn't think much of him. Went to Michigan. Didn't really play well there. I think they caught lightning in a bottle with a really old, experienced quarterback who was good in Hendon Hooker.
With some solid wide receiver help too, right?
With solid wide receiver help, and I think Tennessee takes a step back this year. I like Florida in that game at home.
Yeah, that's going to be a tricky one. I just got to see Joe play. But that hyper offense is always going to be good, in my opinion.
Yep.
And we're going to have to score points in that game. But 10 points just sounds like a lot for me right now. I'm taking that every time, especially in such a rivalry type game. When the last time Tennessee beat us by 10 plus like that?
I don't know. You'd have to go back because over the last 17 years they've won twice. In Florida lost by 5 last year, and I think the time before that they lost 7 or 8 years ago was by maybe a touchdown, or it might have been by 10, but it was some late points. But I think Tennessee right now, I like Florida plus 10. We'll see what Tennessee does. I don't know if Florida wins that game. I do think that Joe Milton is a big step down from Hendon Hooker. I do know that they graduated a number of people, including some of their best wide receivers as well. So they've recruited okay, not great. I like Florida plus 10 right now. We'll see, but that could come down to bite us. But right now, 10 points.
I like Florida outright in that game. Tennessee beat Florida by exactly 10 in 2016, which ended the streak. That was a 28 game. The last game was more than 10. Would be 2003 in Gainesville, which was a 24-10 win. Also, the last time Tennessee has won in the city of Gainesville.
Wow.
2003. 20 years.
Next game up, we have Florida versus Georgia, obviously in Jacksonville, October 28th. Florida plus 22.
Christ.
That's a lot of points. Give me 22 points.
Yeah. What was it? I think it was 22 exactly last year, right? We're going to push.
22 points, just a lot, especially right now. To give up, 3 touchdowns plus is a lot of points in any stretch of the imagination. I don't think that Florida is going to be a 10-win team this year, but I don't think that they're going to be as atrocious as maybe some folks think. I think that Georgia is going to take a little bit of a step back on offense. I think that whoever wins between Vandegrift or Beck or whoever their starting quarterback is going to be might be fine. It might be serviceable, but 22 points just a lot to give up.
The defense might be able to score 22.
Their defense can be disgusting.
That's the thing in that game. Like, I don't know what our offense is going to look like, and the defense is just lights out, so it's going to be hard for us to find points. So I don't know about that spread. Georgia, I'm just going to leave it where it's at. They may cover that shit. It's depending on where we're at, but it's going to be hard for us to score points on Georgia for sure.
Yeah, that's a streak watch game, like a scoring streak watch game.
No, we're going to score.
Right. And Florida at LSU. This one was probably the most surprising, was Florida plus 17.5. It's a lot of points for a team that I know beat Florida last year by a couple touchdowns, but I'm not sure I see 17.5.
What did I put? I remember doing the research. I can't remember now. What did I do? What's the numbers on how many times they've played in November? This is like outside of the Hurricane Matthew year. I think it's only the second time or third time fourth time they played.
You didn't put a time. You just said the last time Florida didn't play, it was in October of 2020 because of Hurricane Matthew. And
no, 2020 was because of COVID, and then 16 because of Matthew.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because of Hurricane Matthew in 2016. I think that's the only other time.
We played once in December in like 1930.
That research didn't make the article. So,
this game's always played in October. It's going to be cold.
Colder. Yeah.
It's going to be very cold in Baton Rouge in November. I remember going there in 16, and shout out to Ryan Young, now publisher of the rival site for USC. I think he got pneumonia, refused to come inside while writing his stories after the game. Shout out to my colleague, Zach Albaverdi, for not packing correctly. Only brought a short sleeve polo to that game in 16. Nice. And had to go downstairs and buy a long sleeve t-shirt, which had purple and gold down the sleeves at LSU excellent. Tigers. So Zach was wearing an LSU Tigers shirt. Listen, it's better than pneumonia.
It is better than pneumonia.
Well, I tell you what, I catch pneumonia before I wear a Buffalo shirt. I almost had to get a Buffalo hoodie this week. And I was like, there's no way I could buy this thing, bro. I'd rather freeze.
Couldn't put a Coach Prime across your chest?
No, I can't do it, man. Just couldn't, Too many Gators have transferred to Colorado, man. So I can't be buying that and supporting that merch,
A lot of Gator fans transferred to Colorado, too. Back to the spread at hand, 17.5. What do you guys think? Gators cover?
I'll say
LSU,
Gators
yes.
cover.
Yes, LSU, yeah. Unless they got Joe Burrow coming back or something.
I don't think that Joe Burrow will be back. I do know that he was in town this weekend, showing off with the LSU basketball team around town, showing their rings. They were pointing to a finger that didn't have a ring on it, but I would presume that's where the ring would go. And then finally, November 25th to end the regular season in Florida. Gators plus 11 against Florida State. Florida battled them, loses by a touchdown last season. FSU getting a lot of preseason top 10 hype. You like the Gators plus 11 at home versus Florida State?
Yeah, man. Mike ain't impressed me this past year. We were down big. Like, receiver room, we were in shambles. We should have won that game. If our defensive linemen make the sacks they supposed to, we beat Florida State easily, I think. We just let Trav out of there. But, yeah, I'm just not I'm not believing in the product out there out west. We're going to see how that season unfold, starting game one with LSU. But I think it's going to be a trenches game, a war of attrition for both teams. That's the final game of the season. Mm-hmm. I think last year we lost the war of attrition more than the game, to be honest with you. We just was super thin at receiver, playing a lot of guys that wouldn't have been playing normally. But we'll see where we're at with it by the time the season gets towards the end.
Yeah, we definitely had some head-scratching play calling there to start the third quarter too. Nick, your thoughts?
Yeah, I as much as I get accused of being a hater, I really don't. I should be getting accused of being a hater for Florida State. I'm not buying into that. Listen, Jordan Travis is going to be the same type of slippery, hard to tackle guy that he was last year. I'm playing. If I'm Austin Armstrong, we're playing. Missed tackles on a loop, at workouts. It's on a TV in every room. You're watching how many times you missed tackling Jordan Travis. I'm not big into the FSU hype this year. I think they brought some good pieces back, but I think Florida can win that game. Obviously, that's going to depend on what you look like health-wise. On November 25th, shout out to me and my what will be my 35th birthday for that game.
Shout out to you.
But yeah, I think Florida covers that game, and I'm picking 2 outright wins.
Yeah, Tennessee and Florida. I think Florida would like both of them, as would the fan base.
New Leaf Nick.
Obviously, Florida struggled against rivals last year. We had the opportunity to interview Billy Napier a few months ago. Silk asked that question. Very, very important to watch Florida against their rivals this year. Going back, I don't think that I like Florida State plus 11 right now. I don't think that they had a great spring game, especially if Jordan Travis is injured. He didn't have a great spring game. I think he threw for not a great day, maybe just a little bit above 50%, maybe just barely into the 6 or into the 3 digits there. But backup quarterbacks really, really struggled for Florida State in that game. Florida State obviously is talented. They've gone to the transfer portal to really fill in these needs. But Florida really struggled from, like you said, Silk, from an injury perspective. A lot of head scratching there in the third quarter when it came to play calling. I don't think that there's a huge gap, and I do think that Florida's defense will be better. So I don't know if I like Florida, definitely like Florida plus 11. And who knows, Florida might outright win that game as well. So that is what we have right now. If you are interested, DraftKings has those odds, but has Florida in only the games that they have listed as double-digit dogs in all of them. So we will see as we get closer to the season how the Gators are looking and whether we were right or wrong in our prognostications there. Any final thoughts on that? Getting near the end of our show here. Go ahead.
No, I think it'll be interesting to see. I thought we'd have some more. It'll be interesting to see what Florida's roster looks like. I mean, you had Billy Napier come out and say after the spring game, our roster is not finished. I just don't think we've seen the kind of impact players enter the portal that maybe we expected. Having gone through all weekend, or specifically Sunday, gone through a ton of what's available in the transfer portal. I just don't know if there's a bunch of guys that I don't see a Ricky Pearsall. I guess what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I don't see a guy like Ricky that comes in that you can get to come to Florida and can have that kind of impact for you in 23. And I think Florida has a bunch of spots, and not to continue beating a dead horse, but has a bunch of spots where they need a Ricky Pearsall type of impact guy. So it'll remain to be seen what they can get out of the portal. And once it closes in 6 days, but you'd like to see some more names. If you're Florida, if you're Bird Sherrill, Billy Napier, Austin Armstrong, you'd like to see some more names hit that portal.
Best thing we can do is Twitter fingers. Just every time somebody enters their portal, just tag them. All right,
more Gator emojis, all right?
Yeah, Gator emojis. And if you are watching us on YouTube right now, thanks Fragrance Journey for always listening. But please do hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate that. 164 of you listening live right now. So go ahead and hit that like button. We will get into our final ad of the day, and that's our friends over at Alumni Hall. If you are in Gainesville, go visit them on beautiful Archer Road, or go visit alumnihall.com and get your latest and greatest in Florida Gators apparel. Obviously, have a lot of other things, including cups, coasters, chairs, umbrellas, all of that kind of stuff that you may want to rock the orange and blue. Go visit alumnihall.com or go visit them on Archer Road. Nick, this is the time. Gators go 1-3 in baseball this week. Beat Florida A&M to start the week at 17-7, a run rule against them, and then do lose 3 straight against number 6 South Carolina Gamecocks.
Yeah, South Carolina is 24-1 at home. So just a tough place to play at Founders Park. And Florida wasn't alone. Florida was not alone in getting swept this week. The SEC is a tough baseball conference, more competitive baseball conference than football conference. And I think that's saying a lot, not taking a shot at all. Vanderbilt was swept 0-4 last week. Arkansas was 1-3 last week. So a bunch of teams losing games. If you look at the D1 baseball standings, you still have LSU, Wake Forest at the top. South Carolina jumps from number 6 to number 3, just ahead of Florida. But 4 of the 5 top teams in the country are from the SEC. And Arkansas rounds out the last team at number 7 in the top 10 for the SEC. So on Gators Online, I kind of broke it down a little bit. Florida, I think, still has a path to win the SEC. That'll start with probably needing to sweep Missouri, who's currently last in the East this weekend when you host them at home. South Carolina has a tough trip out at Arkansas later in the year. LSU still has to play the rest of their SEC schedule, and then Florida gets to host Vanderbilt second to last weekend of the year. So a lot of time left. Florida's bullpen, I think, is what fans will focus on, and it's not just the bullpen, in my opinion. I think it's the entire pitching staff. I went through all of Kevin O'Sullivan's pitching numbers through the years, and this is the worst year for walks per 9 in his tenure. Florida's walking almost 5 batters per 9. And in a conference like the SEC that is so competitive, you can't be giving people free bases. So it was the bullpen on Thursday night. Florida was in a tight game, 3-3. Bullpen comes in. You get Brandon Spurt out of the game for a left-on-left matchup, and you walk the next 5 guys. So that was a tough scene to watch. A 3-3 game, all of a sudden, before you can get 6 more outs, you're getting 10 runs. Hurston Waldrop was good on Saturday, but again, Florida just didn't get the hit. They had 8 hits, but just didn't get the hit with runners in scoring position. And then Sunday, kind of more of the same with the walks, and then not being able to get the hit. No shame in getting swept at South Carolina. As I said, they're 24-1. The only loss is to number 1 LSU at home. So got to get back on track this week. I think it's UNF on Tuesday, and then 3 against Missouri before you head out to College Station. You need to ask someone to bring back my unicorn hat, the one that Soap's wearing, which I left out there.
You think it's more South Carolina pitching, or just the bats went cold?
South Carolina has a really good pitching staff. They hit the ball. They play really well at home. I think there's something to there's a lot. Momentum is a big thing in college baseball, and getting. I think they had 10,000 each game, or close to that at Founders Ballpark. Florida's bats have been so good all year. I just don't know that you can't keep asking them to score 8-9 runs a game to win games. So you've got to get the pitching staff to stop walking guys. And then there's just some guys that are struggling. Some guys that are really struggling in Florida's lineup right now. If you look at, I posted the SEC game stats. Ty Evans, who's been hitting 8th for you, after starting the year off really hot and hitting like 4 or 5. He's 4 for 50 in SEC play. BT Riopelle is 4 for 57 in SEC play, and Colby Halter's 16 for 66. BT's 11 for 57. So these are guys that 2 left-handed bats that you need to have in the lineup, and Colby Halter plays an amazing third base. He probably saves you runs defensively, which is why you keep him in the lineup. BT Riopelle is with Josh Rivera, the heart and soul of the team. You need him in the lineup. I think you need to find another option for Ty Evans. There were too many times where Florida would have runners on first and second, or a runner on first, runner on third, less than 1 out, or less than 2 outs, and you get to this portion of the lineup, which last weekend was just a black hole. They weren't getting hits, they weren't getting walks, they weren't getting on base. And just killing momentum. And momentum is such a big thing. It seemed like Florida would get to a situation where 1 more hit and you'd swing momentum, and then you'd be able to get a big run, get a crooked number on the board. and you just didn't get it. So the defense has been fine. The hitting has been great all year. They had a bad weekend hitting. Credit South Carolina pitchers, specifically their starting pitchers who were really good this weekend. I'm not pushing the panic button. There's a lot of games left, and I think Florida, outside of Vanderbilt, has played their toughest portion of the season, their SEC season.
Yeah, this was the portion of the season that you said that the Gators needed to look out for and ultimately do pretty well. Collectively, obviously struggled against South Carolina, but still have an opportunity, like you said, Nick, UNF on Tuesday, Missouri on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at home.
And then,
check those
and then another tough road trip. Texas A&M has struggled this year on the field, but that's a beautiful ballpark, a really passionate fan base. They're going to pack. I think it's called Bluebell Park. Shout out to ice cream.
Shout out to the ice cream.
Shout out to the ice cream. I don't know if they make any dairy free though. No vegan ice cream.
Gotta get some gelato, man. Give me some shaved ice or something.
But that'll be something interesting there. How do you handle that road trip against a team who I think is 9-8 in SEC play? Then you get Vandy at home. You love to have that matchup at home. That's going to set up to be a huge matchup. Based on what South Carolina is able to do in the next coming weekends. But that could be for an SEC East title. LSU, I think, is a game ahead of Florida. So South Carolina leads the conference right now, but they have some tough weekends ahead of them. And then Florida will finish, I think, at Kentucky.
Very nice.
And finally, let's get into congratulations are in order for the men's golf team that won their first SEC championship since 2011. It's their 16th overall conference title, and they beat the number one team in the country, Vanderbilt, 3-1-1. So congratulations to them as they will then move on, including moving on to hopefully win compete for a national championship. They had great performances by Matthew Kress and Ricky Castillo, and then John Dubois is the one that ultimately sunk his final shot for the Gators to win.
Footer with a
beautiful shot.
15+ footer. I thought his little chip on kind of got away from him. Those greens look nasty, but big 15-footer. It wasn't to win the match. That putt didn't end it. You still had to have somebody miss a putt, but he had put himself in a situation where he had only had to have one of the last two holes in match play to win it. It's still a 15+ footer, which essentially wins you the SEC. That's a knee shaker, a knee knocker there, Dan.
A knee knocker. As a golfer myself, those and then watching the Corn Ferry this weekend or this past week, it's those shots that separate the men from the boys. So congratulations to them. They will move on to try to compete for a national title here soon. Those details will come up soon. And right now, those three names, I believe, are the three names that the Gators right now have as some of the top. I think the Gators right now have three players in the top 15 in the PGA collegiate ranking. So congratulations to them, and certainly best of luck as they endeavor to compete for a national title. We do have a comment here because it is somewhat associated to the Gator Athletics before we end the show today. Silk, you have the song of the week, so get to thinking about that. There was a discussion. Ethan White, who previously played for the University of Florida, announced his transfer to Southern California, will no longer be transferring to them. Nick, is there any tidbit of information that you'd like to give the Gator faithful?
Yeah, Ethan was going through some personal stuff prior to transferring. I don't know anything new about an injury that Lincoln Riley mentioned. That could just be a way that Lincoln Riley is looking to protect Ethan. I don't know if he is or is not injured. I also don't think or have not heard of anything about Ethan White coming back. I think that's probably what Florida fans are asking when they see that Ethan White isn't enrolling at USC. Is he coming back? I don't think that is happening.
Awesome. I do want to go back to PGA or back to golf just for a second. Fred Biondi right now is ranked number 3 in the country. He will earn a fully exempt Korn Ferry Tour membership should he finish in the top 5. Yushin Lin is ranked number 10 right now, and Ricky Castillo is 14th. The number 1 player will earn a PGA Tour membership. 2 through 4 will get a fully exempt Korn Ferry Tour membership, and 6 through 10 will get conditional memberships. And the difference between fully exempt and conditional has to do with the certain tournaments and whether you have to qualify to enter them or how many points you have to make per year to stay on the Korn Ferry. Players through 6 through 20, just because that's conditional for Korn Ferry, but 6 through 20 will earn a fully exempt membership on the PGA Tour Canada and PGA Tour Latino America. So congratulations to them. And boys, any final comments before we get out?
No, I don't have anything.
No, I don't have anything. All right, perfect. Well, we'll get on with the show. Before we leave, if you're listening, please hit that like button. It's that little thumbs up button that helps the algorithms. Please subscribe. We will drop videos. We just cut up this podcast, drop those videos into bite-sized form for you guys. So we appreciate you listening on YouTube. Please support our sponsors from Alumni Hall and Home Field Apparel. Definitely check out the Gatorverse. And of course, Alan Horn with State Farm Insurance. Silk, song of the week, my friend.
Man, we go. I really like this whole project. Ramona Park broke my heart. Vince Staples. But I'm going to go with Rose Street off that album.
Rose Street by Romana or by Ramona?
No, by Vince Staples.
Oh, Vince.
Wow.
Ramona.
Vince got a little Will Smith vibe. No cursing. Positive, uplifting.
Speaking of no cursing, I got tickets to go see Nate Bargatze in a few months. Comedian, he doesn't curse. Very, very good. Saw him about a year and a half ago. Coming to the Amalie Arena here. So
clean comedy,
but very funny. Go check him out. He just announced a bunch of new tour dates, but that's enough free advertising for Nate Bargatze. A, he doesn't pay us, and B, doesn't need it.
Did you see Morgan Wallen canceled his second night at Ole Miss?
I did. Yep. Apparently the word on the street is got a little too drunk. He put out that his voice wasn't up to snuff or up to par, but word on the street he's got a little too drunk in Oxford, Mississippi.
It can happen in Oxford, Mississippi.
Yep. Feel bad for the people that spent their hard-earned money, hotels, travel, everything else.
Sold millions of Life Wallet shares to afford a ticket to go see Morgan Wallen.
I don't know if you even had 1 million shares if you could buy a ticket to Morgan Wallen. Have you guys ever gone to a concert? I was wondering, I was talking about this with Brooke earlier. What happens if you buy a ticket through somebody that resells it and then they just refund the original purchaser? You just have to work out an arrangement.
That's a double dip for the ticket broker.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I figured Ticketmaster didn't look out for the actual ticket holder, but I wasn't sure if you guys had ever experienced that.
No. Thank God.
Thank God. All right, boys. Same corner, same time next week.
You already know.